So one of the big reasons that I bought a Harley Davidson are all the maintenance perks. I love working on my own bikes, and with the KTM it was very daunting. Just because I love working on bikes doesn't mean I enjoy it when it's overly difficult. That gets very annoying very quickly. The Harley Davidson is actually incredibly easy to work on by yourself. I don't know if there's any bike that's easier maintenance-wise than a Harley. A Sportster model at least. Like this here Roadster. Let's go, big brown truck. And I'm not making fun of the brown because I actually love chocolate brown colored vehicles. That's not quite the brown I like, but it's still a pretty nice brown. First things first, this is belt driven. I was very concerned about belt drive at first because I didn't know a lot about it. I've only had chain drive bikes. Did a little bit of research. Belt drives are extremely reliable. They last 100,000 miles or more before you need to replace them or anything. They are extremely strong. I think per unit of weight, they are stronger than a chain. They infuse Kevlar. It's some high-tech stuff. There's performance cycle for you, ant on the road. It's not too far out of Springfield. This is Sunshine, technically. And belt drive is just maintenance free. You don't have to clean it. You don't have to lube it. It's all good. So that's awesome, because on sport bikes, I was pretty good with every 400 miles cleaning my chain, and it's pretty necessary. Your chain gets really gross really fast. Next thing, spark plugs. Spark plugs on most bikes, you have to usually remove the tank, which is annoying. Not terribly hard, but annoying. You get gas everywhere no matter what you do. KTM, you had to basically take apart the entire motorcycle. Well, since my GoPro has been shutting off randomly lately, I'll finish up the video here. Anyhow, we talked about the belt drive. The belt, as you can see here. Next, we'll just go ahead and cover the spark plugs. On my KTM, these spark plugs are very hard to get to. It takes a few hours of taking the bike apart, and it's one spark plug. On my Ninja 250 I used to have, it was a little bit better. It came with a tool so you could squeeze up into the engine and get the spark plugs out without taking anything apart, but you still had to take off the big side fairing. These ones are right here. Some of the old bikes I've had, like the Yamaha AT2 and the CB175 I had, they were pretty easy to get to also, but modern bikes, it's not always that way. I have a little flaw right there on my engine finish. That was like that when I got it, but I don't care enough to complain. I mean, what are they gonna do about it? Yeah, modern bikes, they're kind of like modern luxury cars. They don't want you to do your own work. They want you to go in and pay them to do the work. But Harleys, the way they design it, it's easy to get to. And I don't think all V-twin engines are like this, because I know someone with a Shadow, and he says it's hard to get to the spark plugs. It's an 1100. If you come over here, you can see the airbox. Easily accessible. Mine says Roadster on it. Be jealous. Usually the airbox isn't a huge deal on most bikes, but you do have to take quite a few things off to get to them on most sports bikes. If there's ever any fuel injector problems, look at that. Fuel injectors, literally right here. The plugs are right there. Super easy to access. Not that there's usually fuel injector problems with fuel injected vehicles, but if there are, it's easy to get to. And I'm sure most vehicles could use a nice fuel injector cleaning every once in a while. Another perk is changing the oil. Oil filters usually aren't too hard to get to on most motorcycles, but on sport bikes you still have to take off the fairings and stuff like that, which gets annoying. To change the primary case oil, you just take off this little cover right here, pour it in. It takes one quart, I believe. Adjusting the suspension. I don't know how hard this is on most bikes. On the Ninja it was fairly easy. On the KTM it's impossible. And on this, it's just right here on both sides. There's a little tool under the seat. Easy. Filling up with oil. Also very easy. Just goes right here. You have a nice big hole. High up, easy to fill. While this is a modern bike and it does have some technology on it, it's not completely decked out with technology to the point where the electronics are impossible to decipher. So if you ever have any electronics problems, they're not going to be too hard to diagnose and fix. I don't really like vehicles with a lot of electronics, because then the electronics are kind of driving it for you. I prefer older cars, motorcycles without tons of options. I like to be in control. I like to do all the driving. Changing out all the parts is pretty easy. All the bolts and screws and stuff are really easy to get to, pretty exposed. Changing the tank, no problem. Side covers, they just pop off. Anything really, it's not hard to do. If you need to get into the valve covers for some reason, they make it so that you can take it out without taking anything apart from the bike. Not that you'd need to, because unlike most sport bikes, this does not require valve clearance checks because it has hydraulic self-adjusting lifters. That's awesome. The KTM required a valve check on the first service and pretty much every other major service after that. And I know some sport bikes are better about that, but still a lot of sport bikes require valve checks, which are expensive and annoying to do on your own. But if you ever did have any problems, you can easily take off the valve covers. You've got your push rod tubes right here, easily fixed, easily removed. Exhaust is easy to take on and off. I know with the KTM that's not the case with other sport bikes. Usually taking the mufflers off is pretty easy, but the whole system, sometimes it's a chore. And that's all I can think of at the moment. So I'm going to cut it short. Don't forget to click on the link at the end of the video, buy some stickers, maybe a t-shirt. Go to my Patreon page if you would like. Donate like $1 a month, that'd be awesome.